As the U.S. bombs more ISIS targets, President Obama continues to restate his beliefs that the Islamic State isn't Islamic.
That's been a theme of his administration, but as Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem, a number of former Muslims say the president has it wrong.
In both his primetime speech to the nation and his UN speech to the world, President Obama defined Islam and the Islamic State as he sees them.
At the same time, we have reaffirmed again and again that the United States is not and never will be at war with Islam. Islam teaches peace.
ISIL is not Islamic. No religion condones the killing of innocents, and the vast majority of ISIL's victims have been Muslim.
It may not be the Islam President Obama wants, but some former Muslims say the religion and practices embraced by the Islamic State come straight from the Quran.
They are following Islam's Prophet Muhammad in every detail.
Brother Rashid is a former Muslim who grew up in Morocco. He hosts the television show Daring Question and gave this response to President Obama's claim.
I can tell you with confidence that ISIL speaks for Islam. Allow me to correct you, Mr. President. ISIL is a Muslim organization. Its name stands for Islamic State. So even the name suggests that it is an Islamic movement.
He quoted chapter and verse from the Quran.
You think that ISIL does not speak for Islam because they beheaded an American and they killed those whom they consider infidels. In fact, beheading is commanded in the Quran, in Surah 47, the 4th verse. It says, when you meet the unbelievers in fight, smite at their necks.
So this idea that what ISIS is doing is un-Islamic is not true at all. It's pure Islamic.
And former Muslim Noni Darwish says it all leads to the ultimate goal stated in the Quran.
The goals of the Islamic State is to empower itself to control the whole of the Middle East and expand to achieve the goals of Islam, of converting the whole world into one Islamic State, forcing Islam on the rest of the world.
Rashid adds that just because these radicals kill other Muslims, it does not make them un-Islamic.
You might ask, then why does ISIL kill other Muslims? The answer is that they consider them infidels, not Muslims.
Both Rashid and Darwish warn that political correctness masks the true danger of ISIL and puts the whole world at risk.
People have to wake up because the essence of our Judeo-Christian values and our way of life is at stake.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
We're going to add to this warning that one of the things in President Obama's speech to the UN is he wanted to stress that all religions have a form of the Golden Rule. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Love your neighbor as yourself. But there's an important distinction in Islam where it says, love your brother as yourself. That love does not extend to the infidel, which is why these terrorist groups, these radicals, blow up other Muslims, is because they think they've become apostate, that they've left Sharia law and are doing things contrary to the Quran. That's why in Indonesia, in India, in Pakistan, in Iran, what we're seeing now in Iraq, in Egypt, the Muslim Brotherhood, in Libya, in Sudan, that's why we're seeing Muslims kill other Muslims, is because they consider them infidels and they are no longer under the protection of love your brother as yourself. Now, if they're doing that to what I'll call nominal Muslims that they think are violating Sharia law, what do you think they're going to do to us? And why do they call the United States the Great Satan? This isn't a new slogan that ISIS came up with. It's been out there for a long time. And this isn't the first time Islam has waged war against the West. All you have to do is go back in history and you see it again and again and again. The problem here is not radical and it's not terrorism. The problem is what their religion teaches them to do. If you want to get educated on Islam and what the true believers of Islam believe, we've got something for you. It's called Islam, Religion of Peace or War. It's absolutely free. We'll send it to you free. All you have to do is call us, 1-800-759-0700. There's a way you can get it right now online at cbn.com. All you have to do is get the free download, give us your email address, and we'll send it to you right now as a PDF file. Get informed, because we need to be informed, because we are in a clash of civilizations, a war of civilizations. And just because our president doesn't believe we are, doesn't mean that they don't believe we are. I think Iran definitely believes they're in a war of clash of civilizations. I think ISIS definitely believes that. The Muslim Brotherhood believes that. And all these groups believe it. We need to wake up to the fact that they believe it. Well, Iran is an example of the true nature of Islam. An American pastor is still in jail there just for being a Christian and trying to start an orphanage. John Jessup has more on that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
Gordon, that's right. Today marks 2 years since Iran threw American pastor Saeed Abedini in prison just for his Christian faith. Believers around the world are gathering for prayer vigils for Pastor Saeed and his family. At one vigil here in Washington, his wife Naghmeh led a silent march around the White House. And the Reverend Franklin Graham prayed for Pastor Saeed and the persecuted church around the world.
Followers of a peaceful religion do not hold followers of another religion like Naghmeh's husband. American pastor Saeed Abedini, captive for 2 years in Iran for no other reason than his faith in Jesus Christ.
People in more than 500 cities and over 30 countries have committed to pray for Pastor Saeed and other persecuted Christians. We'll hear from Pastor Abedini's wife and children coming up later in the show. President Obama is looking for a new attorney general. Eric Holder is resigning after holding that job for 6 years. He's a close friend of the president, but as White House correspondent Jennifer Wishon reports, not everyone is sorry to see him go.
I come to this moment with very mixed emotions.
He's the nation's first black attorney general and one of President Obama's most liberal cabinet members. He's controversial, plagued by scandal, a constant thorn in the side of conservatives, and one of the president's top allies in Washington.
Thanks to his efforts, since I took office, the overall crime rate and the overall incarceration rate have gone down by about 10%. That's the first time that they've declined together at the same time in more than 40 years.
Holder was recently called on to focus on an issue close to his heart, civil rights, overseeing federal response to social unrest in Ferguson, Missouri, following the shooting death of a black teen by a white police officer. But his critics say Holder turned the Justice Department into an arm of the president's political operation, using his power as top cop to deny justice in some cases, even punishing some journalists for digging too deep.
The Department of Justice has been this block of not allowing the truth to come out. So I'm glad he's leaving.
He's talking, among other things, about the Justice Department's refusal to turn over documents related to Fast and Furious, the gun running scandal in which the ATF lost some 14,000 guns in Mexico, including 2 that surfaced at the murder scene of a U.S. Border Patrol agent. His actions led Congress for the first time to hold an attorney general in contempt.
Addressing conduct.
Holder also refused to defend in court the Defense of Marriage Act, a federal law defining marriage as a union between one man and one woman. He even encouraged state attorneys general to follow his lead if they found traditional marriage laws discriminatory. And for many Americans, the list continues, including his investigation of the IRS, targeting conservative political groups applying for tax-exempt status.
He was in charge of the Justice Department when they were running guns to Mexico, to illegal gangs, and that the IRS, right under their nose, was engaged in illegal activity. That's the legacy of the Attorney General.
Holder's legacy will be debated for years, but for now, the commander-in-chief must find a replacement for the remaining 2 years of his term. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, the White House.
The Ebola crisis in Africa now threatens to infect more than 1 million people by the beginning of the year. And as the emergency grows, U.S. and world leaders are joining forces to fight the illness. Lori Johnson brings us the latest.
The scene is all too common. West Africans in agonizing pain outside overcrowded, understaffed treatment facilities.
It's kind of pathetic, to come and then see patients dying all on the ground and nobody to even see them.
The death toll, which doubles every 3 weeks, now stands at 3,000. The World Health Organization says it's actually much higher because of unreported cases.
If ever there were a public health emergency deserving an urgent, strong and coordinated international response, this is it.
Speaking to the United Nations, President Obama pledged 3,000 American troops and $1 billion to build treatment centers.
The State Department created a new position, Ebola Coordinator, and named Nancy Powell, the former ambassador to India, to the post. Her mission, bring other countries into the fight.
Meanwhile, Boston physician Dr. Rick Sacra received a clean bill of health after contracting Ebola last month.
Ever since I committed my life to Jesus as a young man, he has loved me, stood beside me, and given me his grace. But the outpouring of grace that I have experienced during my fight with Ebola has been especially generous.
Sacra's treatment involved an experimental drug called TKM Ebola. That, plus blood transfusions from Ebola survivor Dr. Kent Brantley and other medications, helped strengthen Sacra's immune system. He became infected in West Africa, where CBN's Operation Blessing is helping to prevent further spreading. Workers are providing chlorinated water for disinfecting, medical supplies, and partnering with local Christians to teach hygiene.
And so it's church volunteers that are forming these Ebola prevention teams. So they're wearing T-shirts, going out into the communities, being the boots on the ground, really helping spread the message of prevention.
Health experts say while Ebola is not likely to spread to the United States, the possibility increases each day the virus rages out of control in Africa. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
And Gordon, I read an article yesterday that suggested early treatment could have saved both lives and money.
Well, we need to do our part in this and be a part of the solution here. And you can't just stand by and allow people to die, hospital workers die, just because they don't have access to gloves and masks, and just because they don't have access to chlorination facilities to disinfect the beds, the sheets, all that's involved in caring for those with this horrible disease. If you want to be a part of that relief effort, all you have to do is go to the phone and call us and say, I want to give to Operation Blessing Disaster Relief Fund. We've got boots on the ground right now in Liberia, and if you want to help them, be a part of it. 1-800-759-0700, or you can go to ob.org and give directly to them there.
Thousands of new illegal immigrants are failing to report to deportation hearings. The Department of Homeland Security now admits 70% of immigrants who entered the country during the summer have not reported as ordered. Instead, they've gone into hiding. Meanwhile, the Department of Defense is expanding a program that would allow a small number of undocumented immigrants to join the military. That includes immigrants without a proper visa if they came to the U.S. with their parents before the age of 16. Operation Blessing is providing emergency aid for Iraqi families fleeing ISIS terrorists. Thousands of Iraqi Christians and other minorities escaping the brutality of the Islamic State are now struggling to survive in makeshift refugee camps. Operation Blessing is on the ground in northern Iraq, providing staples such as rice, noodles, tea, beans, lentils, and powdered milk. They're also delivering stoves, blankets, diapers, and other critical supplies to camps and churches near Erbil, Kurdistan. Teams also serve meals to a camp with 2,000 refugees. You can find out more about Operation Blessing by going to their website at ob.org.